your horizons and try some new wine and beer. It's Thirsty Thursday with Kevin Meyer from Meyer's Cork and Bottle.
We are here on the block on a Thirsty Thursday edition. Unfortunately, Kevin Meyer not able to make it. He's got some other things going on, but he did stop by and give me a drink. So I'm still having a nice Thirsty Thursday here, so I can turn that for the camera for you. Strick's over there. He's got his wine. He's ready to go. Strick, what are you sipping on today?
Today it's called Katina. It's a Malbec, a little red, little sweeter of the reds. It's pretty solid. Probably
that's never
20 something dollar wine out of Willamette Valley. You know, he knows a lot more about that type of stuff than me. I just like the taste of the wine. It tastes good.
You're a red wine guy, right?
I'm a red guy. I mean, I will sip on some whites. Maybe a Riesling, Pinot Grigio, but I'm not a very good white guy.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
For what it's worth, he dropped by for me the Finnish long drink, which again I'm trying to show to the camera, but I'm not very good at it. It's kind of nice because usually he can run down the history of these sort of things. And they're talking about Kevin Meyer, Meyer's Cork and Bottle, of course. Once again, he is out today getting ready for a little vacation for himself. So he's got, but he brought me this one. It's got the history on the side of the drink, so I can just read it off for you right there, so I can sound smart. The story behind this drink, it's very cool. The long drink is a top-selling category of alcoholic beverage in Finland, a legend that is now available here in America. The roots of long drinks go back to the 1952 Summer Games in Helsinki. The country of 4 million people was still poor and recovering from World War II, but full of pride for their country. So the Finns wanted to give athletes and tourists an unforgettable experience there at the Olympics. However, the officials had a concern how to serve drinks quickly enough to all the visitors. To solve that, they came up with a revolutionary idea of a new liquor drink, and so the first long drinks were born. Now this legend has finally been brought to America by the next generation of Finns who want the world to experience the refreshing and unique Finnish long drink. So I'll go ahead and give it a taste. Usually we pour it out in these cups and everybody gets a taste, but it's just me today, so I'm gonna take it right from the can here.
Get it.
That is good. No wonder they call it refreshing. This would be, he's usually good at pairing it with, different foods and stuff. It's pretty sweet. It's a unique taste of natural grapefruit and juniper berry flavors with gin. He kind of compared it to a Fresca and a gin type of mix. It's just delicious. And you can have, as usual with anything that's delicious with alcohol in it, you get in a little bit of trouble with it, but it's 5.4 alcohol by volume, 5.5, excuse me. Alcohol by volume, very delicious. And if you want to taste it, and you should, because it is delicious, perfect for the upcoming summer coming up. Of course, it is a little bit snowy here today, like I said, but there's not a bad time to drink this in my mind. So you can stop by Meyer's Cork and Bottle. Kevin Meyer will not be there, but he's taking a little vacation. But usually, whether it's him or somebody else, very very knowledgeable staff there, so you can learn a story like this or many different stories that come through their drinks. This one, for what it's worth, once again, about a 6-pack for $8 to $9. Very much worth it. I think I might have to stop there afterwards and get some myself. Strick, have you been paying attention to the basketball tournament here in Lincoln a little bit? I know you're particularly interested in Bellevue West as they have their game coming up tonight at 7:45. That's your alma mater, right?
That's my spot. T-Birds, I think Chucky and the crew called them the Flock Squad. I'm sure they'll be there in great numbers. It'll be a good run. I mean, there's always been a great rivalry between them and Prep, and Prep is solid. They had a big upset against Westside, great comeback victory to pull that off, and now you got to be on their P's and Q's. I think West's guard play, if they really put the pressure to them, will be able to take care of business. They've got great inside play with William Kyle, and so obviously he'll protect the paint very well. And so we'll see how that goes. On the other side, Millard North, they'll probably get through, and we may be looking at a rematch of Bellevue West against Millard North, which obviously you saw what happened last year. It was a great game. Great kids. I mean, I think more than anything, I think too is I'm really happy with how the kids that have come out of the Omaha area have not only progressed, but they've had great success. You know, I mean, you have, what's going on out in Gonzaga with Hunter. And then you have Chucky, obviously, at Wisconsin. And then Saint doing his thing, I think, at Chicago, Illinois, right? So they've won their conferences. I mean, and so some would have to wonder, like, if they would have stayed home. I can't fault them for going out. I think too it builds some character, not only leaving. Of course, you at times would love to see kids stay home, but it also builds character, them going out and doing their thing, and also you see the success. I mean, you can only wonder if they would have stayed together and stayed home and put in some work, what it could have been.
Yeah, and for what it's worth as well, former Husker Charlie Easley, a former Lincoln Pius grad as well, he's going to the tournament. Him and his South Dakota State Jackrabbits won the Summit League, so there's still some teams to cheer for. We'll talk about all the action today. Some other teams probably punching their ticket, maybe another team from Nebraska, one that you probably don't like too much if you're listening in our listening area. But we'll talk about them. Creighton probably punched their ticket.
The Blue Jays.
The Blue Jays did.
Are you a Jaysker? Are you a Jaysker?
I would not consider myself a Jaysker, but I have cheered for the Kyle Korvers of the past, the McDermotts. I mean, when they have a major player, I suppose sometimes I flirt with being a Jaysker.
I don't know if I can go there, but I think, I do support them. I do support them. I do want success out of the whole state. I don't get too overgrown, but I tell you, just the heat sometimes that comes out of my head. I don't got much up there, but the heat that comes out of my head sometimes when I see how our team fares against them, and just I just can't stand it because I never lost. That just for me, that was just a no. I was just not going to do it. And some of my friends are still friends today. Of course, Latrell Wrightsell and DeJuan Cole and some of those guys are still I'm pretty cool with, but I couldn't have it. But it's a different time and it's a different generation. So
yeah, if only we could have those early 90s Husker teams every year to beat Creighton down. It just doesn't seem to be the case anymore. We'll talk a little bit about the Huskers who did close out their season. Also the tournament action. We're up against it, so we got to take a quick break. We'll be back with On the Block on 93.7 The Ticket.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Are you ready for $0 cost individual employee health insurance? How about company paid life insurance for you and your family? What about on-the-job paid training? Become part of the Landmark difference today. Join Landmark Implement, your local John Deere dealer, at our upcoming career fairs. Chat one-on-one with our team to hear what it's really like to work with us. Career fairs will be held at Landmark locations, March 8th in Lexington, March 10th in Kearney, March 22nd in Beatrice, and March 24th in Hastings. See more details at www.landmark.careers.
Fruitcakes are just for Christmas, right? Gosh, I feel sorry for you. I mean, what if we had done that with bacon? Bacon is only for breakfast. We'd never have bacon cheeseburgers. We'd never be able to save a salad by adding bacon bits. We'd never have Brinner. That's breakfast for dinner. Don't limit yourself. Fruitcakes for St. Patrick's Day. Fruitcakes for graduation. Fruitcakes for Thursday. Beatrice Bakery and Grandma's Fruitcakes are perfect for every occasion. Check them out in downtown Beatrice or online at beatricebakery.com. Welcome to our world of yum.
You hear that? That's the sound of extremely tender and delicious beef from Certified Piedmontese. Prime grade tenderness with a fraction of the fat and calories of normal beef. It's Nebraska-raised product and the official beef of Nebraska Athletics. Change the way you buy beef today at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, just north of 84th and Havelock, or at cpmercado.com. 93.7 The Ticket. Fox KFXL weather. Sponsored by Security First Bank. A relationship you can count on.
Your first alert weather forecast tonight, mostly cloudy and cold. Overnight lows 15. Sunshine warming up on Friday. Windy, though. Northwest winds gusting to 35. Highs around 34. I'm NTV Chief Forecaster Kent Fountain for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Sandhills Global is hiring. Check out sandhills.jobs for more information. Sandhills is looking to fill hundreds of new openings in sales, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Sandhills has a professional culture and is fast-paced with a focus on growth, innovation, and leading-edge technologies. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Apply today at sandhills.jobs.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now they've raised wages again and they're hiring for production operators at $22.07 per hour and other select jobs starting at $23.77 per hour, with wages growing up to $29.71 per hour. Continental also has salaried jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates. To learn more or to apply, go to continental-jobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back.
Sure.
Sauter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SauterHeyman.com.
Raymond Law Firm asks motorists, when is your smartphone the smartest? When it's not being used while you're driving. Remember, the spring season is here and kids are out just being kids. Stay alert and put the smartphone down. Those text messages can wait. This message brought to you by Raymond Law Firm in Lincoln, whose quality service and expertise has earned them a fine reputation. For more information, you can call them at 402-477-2130. That's 477-2130. Raymond Law Firm, who says we all know not to drive intoxicated, so let's not drive intoxicated either.
This is On the Block with Strick and Bach. Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer and 9-year NBA vet, Eric Strickland.
Strickland for three! He's going to go out of here as the Big 8 tournament champion.
93.7 The Ticket veteran and lover of bread, Jake Bockelman.
What? I like bread.
Coming at you live from the Coppel Chevrolet GMC studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. On air and online at theticketfm.com. Sponsored by the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. This is On the Block with Strick and Bach.
Hold up.
We're here on the block for about 40 minutes before we send it back out to Pinnacle Bank Arena for the nightcap tonight. Still a few more games to be figured out. The Class A championship game, in fact, to be figured out as the semifinals are tonight. And that will be at 6 and 7:45 respectively here on 93.7 The Ticket. But until then, myself and Strick are here to entertain you and inform you, hopefully, and hopefully you can have some fun. You can also jump in on the conversation. Starter Heyman text line 402-464-5685. We'd love to hear from you as we kind of look over this Nebraska basketball game last night, the Nebraska basketball season, and update you on some of the things goings on in tournament action today. It's one of my favorite times of the year. You know, that Wednesday, right? I mean, Nebraska fans, I suppose, are getting used to playing on the Wednesday where there's just a few of those games going on. Of course, you know, the Big Ten now set up with the buys and the double buys. So the better you do, the longer you have to wait to play. But at the same time, it's better for your chances at the championship. But Nebraska, again, did not make it out of the Wednesday games today or this year, as Northwestern ended up beating them 71-69 last night. Alonzo Verge finishing his career at Nebraska pretty strong, 21 points, 9 assists, 7 rebounds, and 4 steals. Derek Walker with 16 points and 7 rebounds. They seem to be making up a little bit for Bryce McGowens, who was not himself. Only 6 points last night, 2 of 10 shooting from the floor. Kobe Webster added 8. CJ Wilcher, part of the story, was in foul trouble throughout the game, so only played 12 minutes. He was limited. And if you watch the game, you could see what a major difference the zone defense made on the Huskers. Not just their offense. It seemed like it got their offense down, and then that kind of impacted their defense. And certainly the rebounding as well. So the 39-25 halftime lead evaporated, gave up 46 points in the second half, and that zone defense halted Nebraska. Northwestern led by Boo Buie with 16. Pete Nance also 14 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists. For those that didn't catch your reaction there on the postgame show last night, what are your initial reaction to that game before we get into the season overall, as it does close out the season for Nebraska?
Well, again, I said it was like watching a Batman movie with a man on it by the name of Two-Face. And, you have Two-Face, who has the real clean-cut, lawyerist type, good-looking half of the face. And then the other half is just a horrendous-looking, mean, evil, just debaucherous-looking dude. And that's what it felt like. It felt like the first half, it was like everything was smooth. It was crisp, the cuts, great teamwork, great passing. Everything was fundamentally sound, great rebounding. Obviously they did a wonderful job in turning the Northwestern team over. They only averaged nine turnovers a game. So, they had like 5 or 6 so early in the game. And so those were some important things about what they did early. But then in the second half, Northwestern came out with a lot more intensity. They got after him a little bit more. They got into him a little bit more, talked a little bit more. The zone switch ups, great coaching decisions. Some of those things just kind of gave them trouble, and they weren't able to adapt. They weren't able to adjust. And it seemed like once the pressure gets on, just like in anything, whether it be a child or whether it be, in your regular life, when the pressure hits, sometimes you revert back to the old and what you remember, what you knew, what's familiar, what you're comfortable with, and you get back to comfort. And that comfort for Nebraska has always been individuality. It's been play, in that they just would try to do things on their own. You get back to one-on-one aspects. It gets back to, I've got to make the play. I've got to make something happen. I've got to do it. And then all of a sudden, the ball movement stops. The movement stops. The setting of good screens stops. The running and making decisions. You saw that on multiple cases in fast breaks where guys were breaking wide open. I think Trey at one time said something to Bryce, hey, you got to make that pass. You saw it from everybody. It wasn't just one particular person. On fast break opportunities, you had the opportunity to make the pass. You're trying to do Euro steps and step through 2 and 3 people, not able to finish. And then you saw on drives late in the game, when guys were making drives, you saw Verge on one instance, you saw Trey on one instance. One was a charge by Verge, and the other was a fumble, lost ball, and nothing happened in the last shot. But there were guys that were wide open, and that's where the trust has to come in. And it's no different with that trust that like Michael Jordan had when he made the same plays to Paxson or to Steve Kerr. Those guys were open. You've got to make that play. It's not like LeBron James, who could have made a layup and passed it to. Well, he didn't. I don't know if he wanted that smoke of if he missed it or if he had to go to the free throw line and he missed the free throw. I don't know. That was a different type of smoke. But like when Jordan made those same plays where he trusted those guys, he knew he had built them up. He gave them enough confidence, and he made those plays. Kobe had just hit one in the corner not too long before that. And if you want to win that game, you're down 2. You don't have nothing. Obviously, there was the paint was just clogged. There was nothing there. You got to be able to draw those guys and make that play, and they didn't make it. And obviously, there's the loss.
Well, and it's kind of funny too, because that's the idea that every kid has when he's on the playground, right? Is okay, I get the rebound. There's 5 seconds left. I got to go make the game winning shot or make the play. So, I wonder if that kind of played into it. It's not, again, like you said, it's not, I'm not coming down on Trey McCollum for the loss because Alonzo had the charge right before. Lat Mayen had a fumbled layup a little bit earlier. Again, everybody kind of played into this thing. But you wonder if that kind of played into it. I think that Nebraska is playing a lot better team ball throughout these last few games, which has helped them get to the win. But once adversity struck, it seemed like it was kind of falling back on those old habits, and that one ended up coming back and biting Nebraska.
Another point to make, Bach, is let's be real again. I'm not a Monday morning quarterback from sitting on the couch, but at the end of the day, you've seen the last multiple plays that had existed where you didn't get a good shot. It was just bad. The difference between what Northwestern did and what Nebraska did, in Northwestern, when he saw things kind of getting hectic, kind of getting erratic, he made timeouts and he got them a good shot. In that instance where you're down 2 and you have the option to take the 2 or the 3, I think Fred Hoiberg needed to take that time out there in that situation. I don't think you save it in that situation. I think you're going to draw up a play that's either going to give you some counteraction, going to get you a drive with some form of a multi-play kick or drop off. That's going to get you something that you can say at the end of the day, if we miss that one, I'm happy with. I just don't know if you rely it in the hands of the players at that specific time when you just in last 3 to 4 possessions, you got nothing that looked like it was reasonable. And so I think in that situation, you don't waste the time out there. I think you want to get it. And if you miss it, then you foul, and then you've already drawn up something. You probably should have drawn up 2 plays in case you don't make it, you foul, and you've got some type of a long, full court type of action that's going to get you a good shot in the end of the day. So I think they kind of mismanaged that a little bit. I thought they could do a little bit better.
Yeah, pretty frustrating not to get a shot at the basket those last 2 possessions. Of course, Verges was barely hit the rim to begin with, but it was a charge before the shot was attempted officially, and then of course McGowan's kind of had it partially blocked there, so it didn't get very high.
Yeah, Bach, that's a part that you got to think about, right? There's no team. I don't care if it's Pee-wee basketball. I don't care if it's high school basketball. Every team is coached to load the paint. And especially late game like that, they're not going to let you get a layup. In your mind, you must be looking at a standpoint of they're not letting me get to the basket. I'm either getting to mid-range or I'm drawing everybody and their mama in this paint and I'm finding somebody. That first guy may not even have the shot. You got 7 seconds. You can get let me just say, if you're a good basketball player, you should be able to get from just below the free throw line to the other end of the court in less than 3 seconds on the run. If you get that ball, you should be able to get there on the run. That's going to give you at least 4 seconds. We know what 2 seconds, what a second and a half can do. Just look at Christian Laettner, who caught the ball, did a fake, and then hit a turnaround jumper. So you've got plenty of time in that situation. You know it was plenty of time because when Trey McGowan drove to the basket, he lost the ball. The ball fumbles. They're fumbling around on the floor with it seemed like for eternity. And then the buzzer went off. So you have plenty of time. That first pass may not even be the one. It may be that and the next one to that corner, that's the wide open one. It may be that with a shot fake into a mid-range jumper. That's the one. That didn't happen, and obviously that's the outcome is a loss.
Yeah, and it was just kind of both out of control there, those final 2 possessions, trying to get to the hoop. And credit Northwestern, though, too, for the good defense. But like you said, that's pretty much taught at all levels to kind of pack the paint there, make sure that you're not giving up a layup. For what it's worth on the season, Nebraska now 10-22. If I had told you coming into the season that Alonzo Verge would be the top assist man in the Big Ten, Derek Walker would set the school record for field goal percentage and set the Nebraska record for that as well. And Bryce McGowens would only trail Paulo Banchero and Jabari Smith as far as true freshmen among the Power 5. I think we all would have signed up for that and thought of better days ahead for Nebraska, but unfortunately it didn't happen. Do you think that there's still a major, not outside of the roster, we're talking the bench here, because we'll get to the roster in a second. Do you think that the bench is in need for a change this offseason as the records have just kind of stacked against them? Or do you think the last little push they had there toward the end of the season, is that enough of a saving grace? Or do you think we're going to need to see some turnover on that bench this offseason?
I am looking for a Dennis Rodman type. If I'm Nebraska, because you've been so bad in the rebounding department, I'm looking for a beast. Somebody that's going to move space, that every time that ball goes up, he is the one that's hunting for the rebounds. I'm looking for that type of guy. I don't care what type of scoring prowess he has. If he can rebound and run and get opportunity, because that's the style of play you want. You want to play a running style, run, get layups, get opportunities for him in that specific instance. I'm looking for that type of guy as a recruit. I don't care what he does. If he's got size, clear space, get rebounds, that's the kind of guy I'm trying to get to add to my bench sometime in this offseason, no doubt.
Yeah, it reminds me of the quote I heard from Fran McCaffrey. When Nebraska was playing him, the broadcaster brought up that he recruits guys that can pass. He doesn't teach. He doesn't, bring along guys that can pass. You need to go find a rebounder, like you said, not a guy that you hope eventually is athletic enough that you can teach him to be a rebounder someday. You need a rebounder. You need help immediately there because if you want to play this style, I mean, go look at what Iowa's doing. Iowa did it again today, and if maybe that's a little bit of you
beat the brakes off New York.
Yeah, maybe you saved the face a little bit by not playing Iowa today because they were in a mood. They scored 64 points at half against Northwestern, ended up with 112. That's kind of the system, though. The idea that Nebraska has in place. You got a team over there in your conference that's running the same system to that high of a level. Of course, it helps when you have the leading scorer in the nation among the Power Five and Keegan Murray. But I mean, they've been able to do this for a few years now. They're a long ways away from that. And I think what helped them here toward the end of the season was not so much that, but it was the defensive side of the ball a little bit more. So it's very interesting to kind of see how that happens. Again, let's go over some of the games in in tournament action today, because it was just kind of fun to briefly run through some of these. We mentioned Iowa's 112-76 victory over Northwestern, again, 64 points at halftime as they led 64-31. I think that's even worse than what they were beating Nebraska by there in Iowa City earlier. So Iowa moves on. Most important game probably in the Big Ten tournament was Indiana and Michigan. As far as who's going to be on the bubble and who's not. Indiana coming into this day into this game on Joe Lunardi's first four out, or last four out, I should say. And they did get the win today, though, 74-69. Juan Howard, of course, returned to the bench for Michigan, but Trace Jackson Davis led the way with 24 points. Xavier Johnson with 17 points, a former Husker commit at one time. And the 17-point comeback from the Hoosiers was the second biggest in tournament history. It's kind of interesting because to me, it kind of just flips the idea there from Indiana being one of the last teams out and then Michigan being kind of safely in there. To me now, Selection Sunday, Michigan's going to be holding their breath a little bit and Indiana can breathe a little bit easier. Do you think that's the case as well? Or do you think Indiana still has to win one?
I still think Indiana's still got to do some work. They've got great quad one victories over Purdue, Ohio State, Notre Dame. I just don't think it's enough. Their record is 6-11 against quad ones. They have a strength of schedule that's pretty high. It's in the top 50. But at the end of the day, I just think their record in the Big Ten was just not sufficient enough. There was too much inconsistency with them. I still think they need to do a little new. I think they need to maybe go one more, two at least, maybe get to the finals if they want to, make a case for themselves. I mean, it's very possible they have enough strength in them that they could get there. I just don't know what the bracketologists and the committee would be looking at with regards to a Indiana team and what those expectations are. But they're close. They're close. I think if they can get a couple more quad one wins in this tournament, they can put themselves in a good position. I just don't know if they have enough right now.
Well, and they'll have the chance to certainly do it, I think, and absolutely punch their ticket if they beat Illinois tomorrow. That's their morning game, so that's where they move on to. Other teams that are kind of interesting on the edge there as last four in, according to Joe Lunardi, might have opened up some spots yesterday. Wake Forest lost 82-77 in overtime against a 13-19 Boston College team, and they were barely hanging on there. Xavier also lost in overtime to a 14-18 Butler team. So
I think that punches them out. Yeah.
And now they don't have anything to do with it, right? There's no more games for them to be played.
I'll tell you the one that's interesting, though, Bach, is the Iona game. Iona going out early. And that could be very sad for them for what they had did. Rick Pitino did a wonderful job with them in Iona, but at the end of the day, those types of conferences, you got to win it. I just don't think there's enough.
Usually a one-bid league
for them. Yeah, I just don't think I don't think there's enough for them to punch their ticket to get in, especially with that loss that they took early in their tournament. But golly, you just hate to have that type of season, put in that type of work. It just breaks the heart of the players, I'm sure. But that's why the teams like Murray States and those types of teams, you got to go and continue to finish it off. You can't take any days off, any nights off. You got to go and make it happen. And some of those teams like that have continuously done so. But again, we're already starting to see some of those upset bids that are going to happen around in this March Madness time.
Yeah, it's a joy. I mean, I love these days. For what it's worth, Creighton was in the last 4 by of Joe Lunardi's bracketology as well. Ryan Hawkins led the Blue Jays with 18 for the win today. They beat Marquette 74-63. Marquette's a good win. They're probably in the tournament as well. So Creighton probably now safely in. So you have somebody to cheer against, I suppose.
They could probably be they could probably be anywhere from 10 to 12, I think.
Yeah.
Right now, if they continue to win, they could probably get up to a 9. I don't
Yeah.
think they'll
They have
get
Providence
above a 9.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if they can get Providence, they can jump up to an 8, 9, I think. But that's going to be a huge test. Providence is played pretty well throughout the year, but one of those 3 losses has come to Creighton. So
Yeah.
so there you go. I mean, it's very possible that that can happen.
Well, of course, you get into that conversation. It's kind of like the Nebraska women as well. It's like, would rather be the 10 seed so we don't have to play the number 1 seed in the second round. I don't know if the 8-9 is, you improved a little bit, but is that helping your overall goal? I'm not sure. Either way, I mean, if your ultimate goal is the championship, so you got to run through everybody. And it's always a great, you can make a huge memory by beating the number 1 team. So I'm sure nobody's really shying away from it. One other upset today to mention, TCU did beat Texas. They overcame a 20-point deficit. So it's kind of been the story of the day. Big deficits overcoming.
Big deficits.
But TCU is probably already in. They already beat Kansas and Texas Tech, but now Texas. So maybe if you're filling out your tournament, just beware the Horned Frogs can knock some top teams off. Also, one more note that I thought Kansas just blew out West Virginia, but Bob Huggins was tossed from the from the game. So that's always fun. And the Big 12 tournament, as always, presented by Phillips 66. I don't know if any sponsorships has ever worked out that well, at least in my head. Whenever I go to Phillips 66, I'm filling up. I'm thinking about Nebraska basketball back in the Big 8.
Yeah, there was nothing like playing at Kemper Arena, man. That was just some of the funnest times that we got a chance to experience. And Kemper was rocking, and you definitely saw some red come down in support. They made the trip down that 3 hours and a little over 3 hours. The food was great barbecue down there. And yeah, man, there was nothing like going down to Kansas for a Big 8 tournament. There's no question about it.
Yeah. I mean, and it was, it was amazing when Kansas or Missouri would meet up there, the rivalry that was there. Obviously the Big 12's a totally different league than it was back then, but those were good times. And I still will cheer on Phillips 66 for sponsoring that tournament still. Big 12 until they die, I suppose, for Phillips 66. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back here. We'll break down some other stuff going on, including a big trade in the NFL. Khalil Mack looks like he's off to the Chargers. Maybe this isn't a response to what the Chargers are going to have to face there in the quarterback as far as their division goes over this next couple of seasons. We'll talk about that next year on The Block on 93.7 The Ticket.
They say one great thing leads to another, and that's especially true when you visit a Great Clips salon. When you sit down for a haircut with the skilled and friendly stylist at one of our thousands of convenient Great Clips locations, they'll not only make your hair look great, they'll make you feel great too. And that's something you can't help but share with the world. Download our online check-in app today and opt in to get a ready next text when you're up next. Great Clips. It's going to be great.
Work, laundry, dishes. I was exhausted. I needed a vacation, but finding a way to pay for it, not so easy. Then I found it, a research study at Solarion. I searched the studies and found a perfect match for me. It was so easy. I earned cash for the study and booked that vacation. Plus, I made an impact on medical research. Find a study and sign up today at helpresearch.com.
You should consider the risks of the research before you agree to participate.
Can you believe all the empty car lots in Lincoln? How can they survive? Well, they are surviving by charging way too much and making you believe there are no cars available. Hey, this is Carl from Price Right Auto. I'm here to tell you that they are full of bull stuffing. Come out to Price Right in Westo and you'll find over 100 great vehicles at some great prices. We won't let you get a lemon since we back every one of our vehicles with our Peace of Mind 3-month warranty. If you want a hassle-free car buying experience, check out our website, PriceRightAuto.com. Come see a great selection of affordable used cars on West O Street, Price Right Auto.
The Cash Blast promotion from the Nebraska Lottery is back. Until April 12th, when you buy a 2x2 ticket and enter the voucher number online, you could win a $5,000 or $500 cash prize. And if your winning voucher is from a 7-day draw 2x2 ticket, your cash prize is doubled. There will be 7 weekly drawings and 14 total winners in the Cash Blast promotion. Cash Blast from the Nebraska Lottery. You can win $5,000 or $500. Promotion ends April 12, 2022. 2x2 top prize odds 1 in 105,000.
In a world where fun and cash prizes collide. One game explodes to the forefront. Cash Blast from the Nebraska Lottery. Non-stop excitement, a winning thrill ride, and starring you. Until April 12th. Play 2x2 weekly for a chance to win $5,000 or $500. And if your ticket was a 7-day draw, your prize is double. Don't miss it. Cash Blast playing at a lottery retailer near you. 2x2 top prize odds 1 in 105,000.
What does better service mean? At Allo, it means that you get the best fiber internet available at prices that work for you. Better service means installers who show up on time. Better service means no billing shenanigans. Better service means a real person answers the phone. If you're not paying for better service, what are you paying for? Get Allo. Get better service. Switch today at allofiber.com/better service.
Did you know that the U.S. has added over 1,100 new breweries in the last 18 months? Learn more by shopping at Myers Cork and Bottle, 13th and South, and by tuning into Thirsty Thursdays with Kevin Myers, because sports are better with a drink in your hand and a friend at your side.
Rosie Sports Bar and Grill has 2 Lincoln locations that are great for any occasion. If you're downtown for a basketball game or a concert, stop by their newest spot at 10th and P. Don't forget to check out their social media pages to learn about any concerts on stage at Rosie's. If you want to avoid a busy downtown scene, head over to the original Rosie's just south of 14th and Highway 2 for a feeling of your local hometown bar. There's plenty of TVs at both places, great food and drink. What are you waiting for? Rosie Sports Bar and Grill at 10th and P and on South 14th Street.
Today on Hey Culligan, unnecessary contaminants. Here's the referee.
Hey Culligan, that's a flag on my water for flagrant foul taste.
Ooh, that's a tough one, ref, but the solution is a Culligan Smart RO drinking water system that reduces up to 58 contaminants, making your water safer and delicious. And with the Culligan Connect app, you always know when your filters need changing.
The water's up and it's good.
Good call, ref, and we're already on the way.
Try a Culligan water softener for just $9.95 per month. Go to CulliganLincoln.com.
Back to On the Block with Strick and Bach on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
I'm Jake Buckman. He is Eric Strickland. We are here on the block with you for another about 15 minutes before we send it back out to Pinnacle Bank Arena. Nick Sander is waiting patiently to get his Class A semifinal call underway. It'll be Gretna in Millard North. Tip set for around 6 o'clock. Once again, we'll get you out there to open up his pregame show around 5:53 or so. Also, stay tuned for Bellevue West and Creighton Prep tonight at 7:45. DP will be on the call for that as well, as we are just running through all these tournament games in Lincoln, doing a great job, those guys out there at PBA. We got to get to some storylines. There's plenty of them today, so we're going to kind of just jump through some things left and right. Let's start with Major League Baseball, as it's the day that we've all been waiting for, and it looks like Major League Baseball is going to have their 162-game season, as the MLB and Union have reached a tentative agreement on a new CBA that will save the season, but it won't be without a lot of change as we come up. There's a lot of stuff going on as far as the salary cap and stuff like that, but that's hard to that's hard to follow, especially in Major League Baseball with the numbers being so high. So let's jump into some of the stuff that you might actually notice as you're watching it. The MLB has pushed for expanding the postseason to 12 teams. MLBPA has agreed to that, so an extended postseason worked out well for the NFL. Do you like it for Major League Baseball, sir?
I don't see why not. Why not?
Yeah,
I think for so long it's been so tight, and there's been so much work. There's so many games that are played. I think the expansion would bode for good winter fun or fall fun. Let me just say that, fall fun. I think it would be good for the league to give opportunities for those other teams that have put in the time and put in the work to get in there and make a run at it.
Yeah, it's interesting because the wild card teams have done well in Major League Baseball, especially in those playoffs. And I would expect that to continue because, you know, especially with baseball, it can kind of just be who's hot at the time. People get frustrated about division winners and, 30-game leads or whatever, and then you only get one more game in the series, that it might turn out that way or whatever the case may be. But it is a long season. I like to see more teams involved. I think, again, it's worked for the NFL. The only sport I suppose I'll fight back is college football playoff. I want to keep keep it at 4, but that's a conversation for another day. Additionally, players' uniforms will feature advertising for the first time with patches on jerseys, in decals, and on batting helmets. I don't think that's too much of a problem. I remember when the NBA did it, people kind of threw their arms up and talked about the sanctity of the game and all that stuff. I don't think it will be too much of a problem there. Other elements of the deal could include a 45-day window where the MLB will be able to implement rule changes, among them a pitch clock, a ban on shifts, and larger bases in the 2023 season. Of course, the National League will be adopting the designated hitter. I don't know if most people have heard about that. It seemed like that news
larger
got
bases
under the table. Yeah, larger bases included as well. So it's interesting because baseball's back, but it's going to look completely different with patches and designated hitters and larger bases. So it's just kind of a little bit interesting. And then the biggest thing, I think, to me would be the ban on shifts. Teams, this has become more and more popular as time has gone on.
You're talking about when guys go literally on the other side of second base?
it's the metrics, right? You figure out where a guy hits the ball at the time. So that's how teams play defense.
Analytics, baby. I don't see what's wrong with that.
Well, they're banning it now, and that's it's going to allow.
They're trying to make more
offense.
Running. Yeah, that's what they're trying to do.
It makes more offense, which I think is something that the sport needs. But I know baseball traditionalists aren't happy about it because you're not necessarily, your shortstop doesn't have to be penciled in right where he traditionally is. But now,
and that means you got to learn to freaking hit the ball opposite field. You shouldn't be just a straight pull field. Let that ball travel a little bit longer and push that thing to that open spot. And that was one of the things we had to learn when I played baseball. You had to learn to let that ball travel a little bit further. You wanted to hit it that way. It depended on what the situation was. If you had a guy on first, your job was to try to pull the ball. You wanted to pull the ball so that gives the guy the opportunity to move and get to second base without any troubles. So those were some of the things that you were taught with hitting. I mean, if you're just a straight pull hitter, you're doing yourself a disservice. That's my thing. If they're gonna do you like that, figure out how to hit opposite field. Shoot.
Yeah, I saw somebody comparing it to, and again, an MLB purist here, a baseball purist, comparing it to, quarterbacks struggling with the too high safety. So you eliminate from the game, right? And then eliminate the shift, and all of a sudden the offense is better. But that's
no cover 2 for this game, fellas.
Right.
No cover 2. Freak out of here.
Doesn't make much sense. And then how long do you take it? If you have a guy that's not a big, a big time hitter, can the outfielders take
move foul in? You move them in.
Bunting, obviously, there's shifting involving for
this strategy. They're taking out the strategy of the game. That's what I loved about it. I mean, I think that's what made me a better basketball player, is the strategic aspect of what baseball was. People ask me that all the time. They say, Strick, what is it? What was your favorite sport? Well, my favorite sport was basketball, not because I was best at it. Basketball was not my best sport. It was actually football. But what I did was I took aspects of each sport that I played, and I took something from them that made me a better basketball player. For instance, football, the physicality aspect of it, the aspect of reading and reacting, responding, looking at formations and being able to understand, okay, in this formation, this is what they would probably like to do, or this is where they would probably run. If they're coming in motion here, they may try to run a counter, or they got this. And I would be playing those games in my head, and that's what made me a good defender in football. In baseball, the aspects of baseball that made me good is the ability to not look at each situation as just it is what it is. It was reading multiple plays ahead of itself of what was going on. If the ball is hit in this gap and there's a player at first base, okay, then this ball has got to go here. If it's hit down the line, this is where you're playing all of these different scenarios in your head, which made me better at the sport that I played, because I was able to not just look at a single aspect of a possession or a situation. I was able to play different scenarios out in my head. That's what I loved about the strategic aspect of baseball. So I took all of those elements and incorporated them into basketball, and that's what made me a better basketball player.
Yeah, and it's interesting. This is a little bit, just kind of going off of what you're saying, is not necessarily on topic, but you were a specialized case, I suppose, because you could have played in, several different leagues. You were quite literally drafted in one, played another long career in another, and probably could have had a successful career in football. That's not the case for everybody. So I guess kind of think about that as you're answering this question. But it seems to be back in the day, it was more likely and pushed to play several different sports throughout your high school career. Nowadays, it seems like kids are more pushed towards, or some of them anyway, are more specializing on the career that they believe, or the sport that they believe that can get them the furthest. Do you think that it does have drawbacks to, like you were saying, how much that helped you?
Well, I think it does. I really do. I think that for your body, because your body can get worn out because you're using the same specific muscles in a sport, right?
Mm-hmm.
For me, it gave my body a chance to heal in other areas of the sport that I was playing, right? I got to learn quick responses in baseball because you had to move. You're resting for quite a bit. You're resting for quite a bit, and then you've got to respond. You got to move. You got to always kind of be on your toe. Boom. Okay, nothing's there. Okay, I can sit for a little bit. Football is a similar thing. You're looking. Okay, you're reading. Okay, you're seeing formations. Your mind is constantly, within a 45 or 35 second time frame, your mind is constantly just moving in different scenarios. Okay, safety's there. Okay, I'm running the comeback. I may have to run that a little bit shorter because that linebacker, okay, if he drops in that zone, boom, I got to maybe bring it a little bit. You're thinking those types of things in football. And so my body was able to get stronger because I was using different aspects of my muscles depending on which sport I was playing. And I think that's lost in it. And you can get burned out. You can get burned out now.
Yeah.
And by just so early, just targeting yourself into one specific sport. And I think it just didn't give you a time to rest. Even though I was playing multiple sports in different times, my body still was resting because I wasn't using the same muscles that I would normally use in a specific sport.
Yeah, it's fascinating, and some guys are still doing it, right? Tri-sport athletes or whatnot. But it seems to be.
Kyler Murray was obviously,
yeah.
Yeah. It's easier to do football, baseball, Bach, than it is to do basketball, baseball. It's just the seasons overlap too much, and then you play such long seasons there, so it just doesn't work too well.
Yeah, well. And maybe I shouldn't say this as a Cardinals fan, but I would like to see some Deion Sanders, Bo Jackson. I know that's football, baseball, but I'd like to see some. That's a lot.
Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson was one of. Yeah. Bo Jackson was he was an anomaly.
Do you think he could be better if he focused on one sport? I think some people thought that. He was really good at both, but maybe not a great at either, but could have been great at both if he maybe focused.
I think he was great at football. I think if he didn't hurt that hip, he was a beast at that running back. Man, that man ran a 4.3 with the size he was. He once he broke past the safety, you had to worry about whether or not he was going to run you over or break your ankles and then run by you. I mean, he had so many elements of his game. Bo Jackson was an anomaly. And then, Bo Jackson was either a strikeout or a home run guy in baseball. I mean, he was either mashing, hitting 500 yards in a home run, or he was striking out. So he wasn't the same in baseball. But if he got on base, he was looking to, steal. And I think Deion was probably a little bit better in that aspect. He could hit different ways and hit for different types. And then he had great base stealing capabilities. Good fielder. Arm wasn't as strong as most, but he was still an average arm.
Yeah, it's just kind of cool. I like those stories. Hopefully, in the future, we'll see some of those. Maybe not for Kyler Murray, though, since I'm a Cardinals fan. I'd be worried about him getting too interested in baseball over there. Let's switch to the NFL. There is some interesting storylines out there. It looks like the Bears are going to trade six-time Pro Bowler defensive end Khalil Mack to the Chargers. Khalil, maybe you haven't heard so much about him there in Chicago as you have when he was out in Oakland, but he is 31 years old. He was a second-team All-Pro as recently as 2020. And he did have some injuries last year, but it's interesting because the Bears, I don't know if he kind of lived up to it just because they didn't have the team success. It was a big deal to bring him in, but he had some successful years there. I still think he's got some mileage on him, but I still think he's got some, he does have some mileage on him, but I still think that he can be right up there as one of the best pass rushers in the league. And the Chargers, maybe this is in reaction to the fact that now Russell Wilson is in division, along with Patrick Mahomes, and of course David Carr as well. But I mean, two of the top, you'd have to say 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the league now in division. Maybe that's where you're going out for, pass rushing luck, or maybe they would have done this one way or the other, because Khalil Mack's always a good addition.
I mean, there's no question. I mean, they had in Wasu and in Kyler Fackrell that did a good job for them. I mean, Wasu was probably being a free agent now. He probably could have been re-signed, but then they would have had to pay big money for him. And you've got to look at the fact that with Brandon Staley, who took over the job, he was basically the linebackers coach there when they brought him in to Chicago. And so he had that opportunity to basically pair two freaks on one side or the other. And I think looking in that division, he got a chance to look at what the Rams were doing. You know what I mean? Down there in Cali. Look at what they did with Von Miller, and then also on the other side, with the other Wyatt. Watt. The other Watt.
TJ Watt,
Yeah, TJ. So he had a chance to look at that, and he's figuring, man, that this can work. I mean, Joey Bosa getting double teamed all freaking season, still had a crazy season. In the sack department, like I think he had like 9.5 sacks or something like that, or maybe 10.5. But still, at the end of the day, you put those two, you can't double team Bosa with Khalil Mack on the other side there. Yeah. It's going to open up so many opportunities for their defense to be able to do something. And like you said, they've got to create more rush and hurry opportunities, pressure opportunities in that division, because you sit back there and you let freaking Mahomes and you let Wilson and those guys, they'll eat you alive if you allow them too much time to sit back there. And so I think that he's looking at it from that standpoint.
That'll wrap it up for On the Block today. We're going to send it out to Nick Sandard for his call of Gretna and Millard South Class A boys semifinal. That's coming up next year on 93.7 The Ticket. For myself and Strick, we'll see you tomorrow on the Block. Have a good afternoon. Have a good end of the day, I should say.